Okay, this is the video that I've mentioned before. I did the tools video. In this video, I'm just going to throw a bowl. So I'll start by wedging clay. I'll describe what I'm doing at that point. Then I'm going to throw a bowl on the wheel. Once I've got the bowl done, we'll come back in a couple days and then I'll show you the trimming process. And at that point, once the clay dries out, then it goes to the kiln. So let's get started. There's different ways to wedge. There's a wedge where you just take both hands, go like this. They call that a ram's horn. This is the way I learned to do it. So this is, I just kept it up. I don't see any reason to change what I do. So I'll just keep doing it this way. What I'm using here, this is just a piece of like melamine, some sort of board. And then I have a piece of canvas on that. It doesn't stick to the canvas. Also, if you're too wet, the canvas will take some of the moisture out. Probably the best material to do this on is like a gypsum, that sort of thing. But anyway, so that kind of takes care of that. What I do at that point, I have a little scale here. And I just cut off pieces and I throw them on the scale. This helps me get a consistent size to my bowls. So if I'm trying to do, a quantity of bowls that are all the same size, then having the same amount of clay in each ball would really helps with that. So it's about 1 pound, 12 ounces. At that point, I just give it one of these. So that's kind of what I start with. So I make it in, you could just make a ball. I kind of typically end up with a little pyramid thing because when I put it on the wheel, I just do like that and I'm ready to go. So that's the first one, and I'll continue on and come back with you when I get all my clay wedged up. Okay, you can see here that I got my clay all wedged up. Got it into 1 pound, 12 ounce portions. So there's about 14 pounds of clay right here. When I buy my clay, comes in a 25-pound bag. So I figure in a 25-pound bag I get 14 or 15 bowls. And this bag of clay costs maybe 15, 16 bucks. So about $1 worth of clay going into each one of these bowls. So at this point I'm going to take it over the wheel and get started. So today I'm going to show the process of how I throw a bowl. So I talked about how I have some pins in here. I throw my bat on that. The bat's got holes in it. Set those on the pins. I have the little plates that go in the. This wheel's got a foot pedal on it, sort of like a accelerator. I usually start out by putting a little bit of water on here just to help the clay stick. Okay. To help myself get it centered, I kind of have a spot there that I know is near the middle. Get my hands wet, get some clay on it, make sure they're nice and slippery. I wedge my left elbow into my thigh, and then that pushing from there is gonna, see, if I try to push without wedging my hand or my elbow, the clay will just push my hand around. But if I wedge my elbow in, it gives the full force of my body. And at the same time, I push down on the clay, and that helps me get it centered like right away. So one of the biggest problems people have is centering. So wedging your elbow into your thigh and pushing the force of your body weight into that clay kind of helps take care of that problem of centering. Also, when you do this, you typically want to run your wheel pretty fast. I also do a thing called coning, which is to bring the clay up and then push it back down. This helps the centering, and it also helps getting all the minerals and everything in the clay kind of go in the same direction. Before you start throwing, you want to make sure you don't have a wobble in your clay. If your clay is wobbling, if you're like this, you're not going to be able to be successful throwing your bowl. You've got to get that wobble out of it, get it good and centered to get started. Okay, so once I've got my centering done, I feel pretty good about that right there. Then I start a hole in the middle to start my bowl. I usually start with my thumbs and I just push down into the middle of the clay, kind of as far as down as I can reach. I'll put a little bit of water in there and I go in with my fingers. Hold the clay stable with this hand, push into the clay with my left hand. Now I don't want to push so far down that I press my finger into the board, because then you won't have a bottom left in your bowl. So typically what I do is I try to get within about a half an inch of the bottom. If you weren't sure what that was, say you just started, you could take a tool like this, stick it in there, see how deep it is. I've done this enough times that I know I probably have about half an inch there, and that's what I'm looking for. So at this point, I want to start pulling the clay open for my bowl. So I just pinch my fingers together and pull that opening into the clay. I want to be careful when I pull to kind of come up, because I want this bowl to have a rounded bottom on it. If I was to pull straight across, I'd end up with a flat bottom, and then that doesn't make an attractive looking bowl. So kind of pull out and up. Okay, so there's a start. Now I want to start pulling up, so I'm going to pinch my fingers down at the bottom and pull up. So here I kind of pinching, holding my fingers down against the board, pinching and pulling up. You want to move fairly slow when you do this, and when you let go slowly, because if you let go quick, you might put a wobble into your clay, and you want to try to avoid that, right? So again, I'm going to try another pull, pinch my fingers together. I've got my wheel going about half speed, and then I just start pulling up. All the way to the top. Notice I keep rubbing the wheel head, putting a little bit of clay on my hands. I want to keep my hands nice and slippery. If your hands are sticking to the clay, then you're going to twist the clay and you're not going to have success. So you want to keep everything nice and slippery so that everything slides real nice and easy against the clay. So let's make another pull. Go in and pinch. You notice I'm stabilizing my thumb with my fingers here. If I just leave my elbow hanging here and try to pull this up, it's going to be hard to do. So I've got my elbow in, my fingers pinched, using this hand to help put pressure and to help keep it stable. So I'm pinching, and now I'm pulling up. You can see the clay's getting larger. It's coming right up, starting to take that bowl shape. Kind of lay my finger against the edge there and straighten that top edge out. Again, keep everything nice and slippery. Okay, so when I get to where I can't get my hand all the way down, what I do at that point is I sort of extend my thumb by putting my other thumb there. So I can get my fingers into the bottom, but my thumb won't reach. So put this thumb into that, and now that thumb is just sort of an extension, and I can press and keep pinching. Okay, now we're starting to take kind of a pretty decent bowl shape. Probably one more pull or so off this. I'm going to do the same thing again. Rub my fingers in the middle, sort of make sure I got that good bowl shape happening. Slow my wheel down just a speck. I want to keep my hands together, lock them together, start pressing, and then pull. Okay, that looks like a pretty good size for a bowl there. Things are going to shrink, so when I put this in the kiln, just even drying out before I even put it in the kiln, it's going to shrink somewhat, and then when I put it in the kiln, it's going to shrink even farther. So it may look like a large bowl right now, but by the time it's dried and fired, it's going to be big enough. Okay, so the next step is I usually will, at this point, will take a rib and just sort of compress the clay. It also, because I can bend this rib, I can use it to begin to shape the outside of my bowl and give it sort of the shape that I'm looking for. Okay, that looks pretty good. The other thing I can use this for is cleaning up inside the bowl. Right now you can see there's a lot of like slip. The clay and water mixture is kind of built up in there. So I'm gonna use my my tool here. I'm gonna reach inside. I'm gonna bend it, and I'm gonna put it against the bowl and bring it up. See all the clay I got off of that? Also, there's quite a bit of water down in there right now. Let's just use a sponge and clean that out. So when I throw a bowl, the outside, once this dries a day or two, the outside is going to be trimmed. I'm going to put this bowl on my wheel upside down, and I'm going to take one of my trimming tools like this right here, and I'm going to trim the outside of that bowl, and it'll help the shape. Also, there's more clay in the bottom of this bowl than I'm going to want. So the foot's kind of fat and clumsy right now. When I put it on here and trim it, the bowl's going to end up taking the shape of the outside that I want. The inside of this bowl, once I'm done with it here, you're really not doing anything more. So you're not using a tool to trim the inside. So Whenever I stop working on the inside of this bowl right now, that's what we're going to have. So I want it to look pretty good when I'm finished with it here. So again, I'll take it. That looks pretty good. The next thing I do is I keep a little piece of chamois, and I'm going to use this piece of chamois to clean this edge up. You see it's kind of messy right now. You can take this, lay it over the edge, kind of compress that edge. Okay, nice clean edge. Kind of use this to clean my board up a little bit. Now the next thing I do is I have a wood tool here. Got a sharp point on it. I'm going to go down into the clay here, because I told you I'm going to trim this foot off later. So I'm going to go down into the clay. I'm going to do some of the trimming right now. It's going to make it easier for me later. So I'm going to try to do this over here where you can see it on the camera. Straight down. I go in until the point of that tool is hitting the board. I stop. And then I can use my little hacksaw tool here. It's got a thin edge on it. I slip that underneath the clay. It helps separate that clay from the board. And then I can reach in there, pull it apart. See? So it's all that clay there I don't have to trim off later, and started my shape for my bottom. That's going to change a lot as I start my trimming, which is the next video. I'll show you a video on doing the trimming, and I do a thing called shattering, which helps decorate the outside. So I'm just going to do one last hit. Okay, so that pretty much does it. Clean this up just a speck more here. So that's thrownable. So you have to get this this bat out of this board. So this is a bat system that I told you before. So just stick it under there, pop it up a couple times, and now I can just pop this out. And there's the bowl. So I'm done with that bowl. If I want to throw another bowl right now, which I have about 8 bowls to do, I just set that one aside, put another bat in, ready to go. I did miss a step there real quick, so I'm gonna throw this back in. Just take my tool that I used to cut my clay with and lay it against the bottom there, pull it through. What that does is that helps make an airspace between the board and the clay. If I didn't do that, then I would have a really hard time later getting the clay off of the board. So that saves me a little help. If I wanted to right now, like say I was using this type of bat, I could actually pick this up. There's tools that you use to do it, or you can do it with your bare hand. You just kind of put your hands on the sides of the clay and pick it up. I find that for me, I kind of damage it when I do that. So That's why I don't use one of these. I use this batting system. But there are tools, it's kind of an aluminum thing that slide in and you can pick it up, makes it pretty easy. So again, like that, and that's the bowl. And then I can, as I said, throw another one in, slap some more clay on there, keep going. So that's throwing a bowl. My next video, as I said, will be the trim, and I hope to have that out within a couple days of this video. So thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. If you like to see more videos like this, I can do some more. I do a lot of coffee cups, so I could show you how I do that. I've done teapots. I could do more just bowl throwing without so much talk. So whatever you guys want to see, just drop me a line. Let me know. Subscribe if you can. Thanks.